Have you ever met someone who had nothing, yet gave his children everything that truly mattered? This is not a story about money. It's a story about faith, sacrifice, and the strength of a father's love. A story that will change the way you see poverty and success. In a quiet countryside village surrounded by green hills and endless silence, lived a poor farmer named Thomas Gray. He was a man with rough hands, worn-out clothes, and tired eyes. But behind that weathered face lived a heart that carried 5 dreams, the dreams of his 5 sons, Aaron, Brian, Charles, David, and Ethan. Thomas had no land of his own. He worked from dawn till dusk on other people's fields, sweating under the sun, earning just enough to bring home a few loaves of bread. At night he would return to his small wooden house, sit quietly by the old lantern, and watch his sons sleep. Every wrinkle on his face carried a silent prayer that one day his children would have a life better than his. But as the years passed, things began to change. The sons were growing up and strong in body but restless in heart. They were tired of poverty, tired of living in the shadow of hardship. One evening, while the family sat around a flickering lamp, the eldest son, Aaron, spoke with frustration in his voice. "Father, what have you given us? We have no land, no savings, no inheritance. Other fathers leave behind property. You will leave behind nothing." The other brothers nodded in silence. Thomas didn't get angry. He simply smiled, his eyes calm like the earth after rain. He said quietly, "Tomorrow morning, I will give you something that can change your lives forever." The sons looked at each other, confused. What could a poor man possibly give? At dawn, Thomas woke them all. Each son received a shovel and a small basket. He led them to a distant piece of barren land, dry, rough, and lifeless. Thomas said, "There's treasure buried beneath this land. Dig deep, my sons. Work together, and don't stop until you find it." Excitement flashed in their eyes. "Treasure!" They began digging, hour after hour under the scorching sun. The ground was hard, but greed gave them strength. By sunset, their hands were bleeding, their bodies covered in dust and sweat. But they found nothing. Frustrated, Brian threw his shovel to the ground and shouted, "There's no treasure here. You lied to us!" Thomas simply smiled again. "You've loosened the soil well. Now plant seeds in it." They stared at him, speechless. But after some hesitation, they obeyed. They planted every seed they had. Day after day, they watered the field, removed the weeds, and worked together. Weeks passed. Then one morning, the barren land began to change. Tiny green shoots appeared everywhere. For the first time, that land was alive. Months later, the field was filled with golden crops, swaying under the wind like waves of sunlight. When the harvest season came, they sold the grain in the market and earned more money than they had ever seen in their lives. That night, Thomas gathered his sons around the fire. He looked at them with gentle pride and said, "My sons, the treasure was never under the ground. The treasure was your hard work. You only had to learn that your hands are worth more than any gold or inheritance." The 5 brothers sat in silence. For the first time, they understood. Their father, who had nothing, had given them the greatest gift, the courage to build something from nothing. Time passed. The brothers expanded their farm, bought land, and became respected men in the village. They built new homes, raised families, and lived with dignity. But no matter how successful they became, they never forgot that everything began with a shovel, a barren field, and their father's wisdom. When Thomas grew old, they built him a small cottage beside the same field, the one that once held their anger and now held their gratitude. Every evening they sat with him under the old oak tree. He would smile at them and say, "Remember, my sons, the richest man is not the one who has the most money, but the one whose children know the value of hard work." And when Thomas Gray finally closed his eyes for the last time, his sons wept, not because they had lost a poor farmer, but because they had lost the richest man they had ever known. True wealth isn't found in money or gold. It's found in discipline, unity, and love. A father's greatest treasure is not what he leaves in his children's hands, but what he plants in their hearts.